Then that was stuck on there, and as you can see, that didn't survive too well. Hey everybody, welcome back to Ogre's Speed Shop. So we have the 69 C10 in the shop today. So we got some stuff we got to do to get it more roadworthy, and that's basically what we're going to cover in this video. Just turning the Revival and Rescue into a roadworthy rig. So here's one of the things we got to be concerned about. So we know that the ones in the back are rusted out. These two up here are rusted out. So that means they probably ran just straight water in it. So the other thing, there's a couple of things we got to worry about with that. One is there's two more freeze plugs in the back. If you look at this one over here, you can see that there are two more down inside there. So there's one there and one over here. The other thing you got to worry about is when you run straight water, is it freezing? It doesn't get cold enough in Oklahoma to freeze, so it could crack the block. But hopefully the freeze plugs are the only thing that went bad in it and caused it to leak. And I'm hoping the ones in the rear aren't leaking. But what are the odds of that happening? Because if that happens, it means we got to pull the motor. However, the good thing about that is we see where the cross member is at for the transmission. It holds the transmission up, so we can pull the motor without worrying about pulling the transmission. We still need to replace that or move that all forward at some point, but I ain't worried about it too much right now. Everything seems to be working, and we can make it work a little bit better, but stuff just rubs where it's not supposed to, but we can fix all that later. Right now, I just want to get it so we can drive it and not have leaking fluid everywhere. So that's the plan, and that's what we're doing. Well, you can imagine why that one was leaking. I didn't realize how bad it was until you got it out. And I didn't hit any of that. I tapped it out through the edges here. So yeah, that was doing nothing. Still got a feeling the back ones are going to be bad too. But you know, it shouldn't take long to pull the motor in this thing. It's pretty simple. There's no water in it, so we don't have to worry about that. And the water pump needs to be replaced because, well, here, listen. Can you hear that? I feel like there's something in there. It might clear itself out, but I don't know. I don't want to take the chance of it being the impeller and then screwing everything else up, so we're not going to. What is that wire? Oh, that's the alternator. That's the other thing we got to do, hook up an alternator. But anyways, that's where we're at. We've got that one freeze plug out. I got to do the other side. Then, yeah, I'm not going to film any of that because it's almost impossible to film anything down inside there. Yeah, I mean, I might be able to do it here once I get the motor mount out of the way for the front ones. But yeah, we'll worry about that once we get the other ones in. So yeah, the whole freeze plug thing kind of escalated quickly here. We are now pulling the engine, but mainly because it's too hard to get to them. And I can pull it out, have it on the engine hoist, change them all out, put it back right in. And even though I need to fix a few things, like the gas pedal's broken over there because they smashed the engine up against it. So, but it's going back in before I move it forward because there's a lot I need to do to make it move forward. And one of those things is making the drive shaft longer. So I'm not going to do that right now. I just want to make sure it's drivable again. So that's what we're going to do, get the freeze plugs in there. Oh yeah, not to mention the radiator. It was more broke than I thought. So originally there's a crack right here. Well, now you see the, when I took the hose, or tried to take the hose off, that's what happened, but it's full of crap anyway, so it needs to be pulled out. I've got the one from the 77, which will, you know, fit and work, so I might just throw that one in here for now, until we get that other engine built. That's where we're at. We're gonna get ready to pull this. So I gotta go up underneath it and get the last two bolts. Last 2 out of 3 bolts that hold the bell housing on. Yeah, only 3 bolts are holding that thing on there. So, I guess now the starter bolt had nothing to do with it, but anyways, we're gonna pull those last 2 bolts and then we should be able to pull her out. All right, we're gonna pull the motor out now. Should come out fairly easily. I felt it kick when I pulled the last bolt out. So yeah, there was 3 bolts total holding it in. One was loose, the bottom one was loose. There's only 2 that were actually holding it in, and they were both on. There's one. Oh yeah, they're both on the driver's side. So the 2 bolts that held it on the driver's side were tight. Well, on the passenger side, it wasn't tight. But anyways, let's get this thing out here. Don't worry about the hood getting scraped because it's got more problems than that to worry about. So we gotta pull it forward. Pull forward. Flange bolt just touched the bottom of the engine mount. There you go. Now you can access the freeze plugs a lot easier. And look at this monstrosity a little bit closer. That was a good day. So we got the engine pulled last night. And I had it sitting on a knee pad and a block over in this corner. Guess what happened? It tipped over and crushed the oil filter. So I got a mess to clean up today, and then we'll get on to replacing the freeze plugs because they're definitely crusty. Just because these are the steel ones, I want to replace them anyway, just because they look like they're kind of crusty. So it's kind of hard to see with this view, but they're pretty crusty. I mean, the whole engine is kind of crusty, so I got to do some scraping. Oh, that's why it only had 3 bolts. One of them was broken. So, and missing a pin. Is that in the transmission? I'll have to look. I moved the truck out to the backyard. We might use the 1 ton to put this back in when the time comes. But I don't want to have it out too long. I want to make it drivable again. So that's the plan and the goal is just get it drivable until we can adjust everything that needs to be adjusted. Let's put it that way. So yeah, the other pin is stuck in the transmission, so we can get that out and put it back in here at some point. Ain't a big deal. Doesn't really matter as long as it lines up. But oh, the engine. It's a 1975 350 out of a van or a bus. That's what that TYU right there tells you. 1975 350 out of a van or bus. At least she runs. Sounds pretty good. You know, we gotta get some exhaust on her so we know exactly what it sounds like, but we'll worry about that later. We gotta get this thing cleaned up. It's just disgusting. Scrape it down a little bit before we put it back in. Well, y'all remember how I said it's probably best just to go ahead and pull it so we can make sure we get the rears. Look at that. There's a big hole in the back side one too. I don't see one on that side. Doesn't mean it ain't there. So yeah. So I'm going to show you how I do these with this one, just because it's going to be the easiest one to show you. So let's get into it. All right. So the way I do this, I got a special punch that like kind of ground down to an angle so you can get into an edge. What I do is I pop it out using the edge of it. It's probably gonna move around a lot because I don't have anything stopping it. Just wanna tap along the edge, push it in. And the reason why I do that, because it'll flip it, kind of like turn it like a door. See how it's flipping it like a door? Now you just take a pair of pliers. If it gets stuck in there, you can use it as leverage. Put it right up against the edge of that hole and pop it out. That's all there is to it. See the hole. So now I'm going to use my wire wheel to clean it. Mind your ears. So I think this kit is a Dorman set. Can't remember. Yeah, it's right there, Dorman. So the nice thing about them is they do have a starter shelf, so it kind of fits right in there to get you started. You know, stay right in there. But what I'm using, I'm probably blocking my view of the They have actual tools for this, but they're like $100. And that's Amazon. So I'm just using my seal driver kit. One side I use to start it in there, and it'll flatten it. It'll get it into where it's flush against the block. Then I'll flip it around to the smaller size, and I'll let you inset it a little bit. Just a tiny hair, just to sink it down into the hole a little further. So that's the way I do it. I've also used a socket that fits really nicely on the inside of that. But that can do some damage. You can stretch it if it doesn't go in right away. It doesn't go in straight. So you just gotta be mindful of that. So I'm just gonna use this. This is blinding me. I don't know how to do this without blinding you guys. So try to keep the engine from moving. You'll hear that change in tone when it sinks in. So that right there is flush with these little, this has little nubs on it. So now I'll take that and I'll flip it over. And it's the exact size. Well, it's just smaller than the size of the hole. And then I'll use that and I'll smack it in just a little bit further to get it sunk down below the level. So just like to get a little tiny ridge underneath there. Started going a little crooked. Top's a little further out than the bottom, so just give it a little tap up there. Oops. Just try to get it even all the way around. That feels pretty good, and that's how I do it. Now I got 3 more to do. All right, there you have it. All brand new freeze plugs. Look at that. And they're all brass. I prefer brass over steel any day. They don't corrode as quickly. And so this is all of them, and every single one of them had rust holes in it. So it was definitely worth pulling the engine to do this, because otherwise we'd just been chasing leaks the whole time. Now we just got to come up with a radiator. Shouldn't be too hard. So I brought this motor out here to clean it out. I'm going to run water down through it, let it just come out, because there's some pretty good sludge in the bottom of it, especially on the passenger side. But pulled the thermostat housing off. This is what I found. What's left of the thermostat. You see how it's not a whole lot to it anymore. So that's pretty nasty. And this was just caked. There was like a pile on top of the thermostat here. There's just nothing but rust. So in fact, you can see all the little bits and pieces of it on the floor. That was what I blew off of there from that. So yeah, it's pretty nasty. But I'm just going to run some water through it, get everything cleared out and cleaned up, and hopefully it'll flow better now. Oh yeah, and the water pump, that's all the stuff that came out of it. I pulled the cover off, and that was all stuck down the bottom of it. But if there's any indication on why you should never run straight water in your engines, unless you're strictly race, and you drain it and clean it every now and then, because you're racing and you have the motor apart all the time, run antifreeze, run coolant, whatever you want to call it. Run ethylene glycol in there, because that's what keeps it from rusting. But yeah, hopefully we should be good now. Like I said, all the freeze plugs are over there. All 8 of them had holes in them. That came out of the water pump. So yeah, I'm just gonna try to flush it out as best I can. All right, so I have made a decision. I guess you could call it an executive decision, since I'm the only executive and the only employee and the only boss and everything here at the shop. This intake is gonna go, because I still have the original intake that came with that truck, since that one's Vortec now. There's nothing wrong with this, just parked there. It looks like it's kind of under the gun, but it's not, or under the knife, but it's not. But I have this single plane intake right here, aluminum, at O'Brock. So I think would make a nice replacement for this 2-barrel Smog Dog EGR piece of crap, you know, and nice upgrade. And I also have, I know I'm going backwards on this one, but if you notice right here, this thing is broken. It must have broken when I pulled it out of the truck because of how tight the space was in there. Or I don't know. I don't know how that would have got hit by anything, but maybe it was like that. I just didn't know it because I couldn't get the cap off with it in the truck. But I have a point style distributor that's brand new right up here that came also with the 70 GMC 2500. Throw that in there knowing it's good, it worked. I started it up and that's how I found the bad cam in that engine, which is why it's got a Vortec engine in it now. But switch that intake out to this engine, put the point style distributor with a coil until I can upgrade. But the problem is, I don't want to put an HEI in it until we get this thing moved forward in the truck, because this big old HEI hits the firewall and the skinny little tiny point style one will not. And I actually have a cap that takes, that uses your standard, like an HEI style plug, like that. I have one of these that's red that I can use, but I also have a set of plugs. So, but I don't know. I think it's the best bet to get rid of this old cast irons two barrel intake. Put the 4-barrel on there with my good quality, or my good known good carburetor that I was using in the 77 1-ton, but since I gotta wait for a cam on that engine, I might as well use it on this one and get the blue truck going. Too many projects, but hey, it's nice having spare parts, right? So that's what I'm doing. It's like I changed the, took the balance of the brand new balancer off that engine for the 77, and I'm putting it on this engine for the 69. So yeah, parts are exchanging and moving around everywhere, but I think it's better, it's for the best. So we're gonna pull this intake off here, put the aluminum one on, and put the point style distributor in, get rid of the HEI since it's broken anyways. And I know it's just the cap or the rotor, but like I said, it's too tight of a fit in there for a HEI. So we're gonna change some stuff up, make it better. So that's what we're doing. And I just rambled on for 3 minutes. All right, so I got the intake loosened up now. We're gonna find out together how sludgy this is inside. Hopefully it's not too bad. If not, I mean, we'll run some engine cleaner through it. But as black as the oil was, I got a feeling it hasn't been well maintained, and it was like a farm truck. I mean, the tags were expired in 95, but I don't know how long it ran after that, like, you know, farm type of thing. So let's lift this thing off here and see what we got. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, what the heck? What the, oh, stupid tube. Oh man, oh, that ain't too bad. I hate these freaking the ones that use an EG, like a heat tube for the choke. Stick it way down inside that. Look at that. It's actually got China wall gaskets. Just don't see those anymore because they're not really that good. They used blue silicone, not even RTV, on the gaskets. Yeah, that ain't too bad. I can live with that. It ran good. I mean, for something that was stuck for however long. So yeah, then we're gonna clean it up, slap that aluminum intake on there, and call it a day. I'm gonna tell you one thing that makes it so much better already. Let me zoom it out a little bit here. That's one hand. I gotta install this with one hand. It's just kind of awkward. But look at that. Yep, that's a much better choice, much better option. It is a single plane, but that's cool, it's fine. Why is there a hole in the bottom of it? I never noticed that before, hopefully it's not. Oh no, it's just that channel right there. It's a vacuum port. Cool. So that's what we're gonna put on there. Make it a little bit better. Put a 4-barrel on it, get rid of the 2-barrel, smog dog. Definitely needs cleaned up a little bit, but I'm gonna vacuum the inside because a bunch of dirt fell down in there, but I'm gonna do an oil change on it anyways. Well, it needs oil added anyways because it's down to nothing after it's spilled everywhere. But yeah, this is much better. One hand install. And gotta do some repairs on some of the threads because you see right there, there's a helicoil. And I didn't do that, that was already there. But it's better than anything. And let's get rid of the air fitting and put an actual barb fitting on there. Oh, people. There you have one aluminum intake. I had to take the valve covers off to clear it. So I'm probably run the, I got a set of reusable valve cover gaskets that raises it up a little bit. I only noticed one rocker that was kind of loose. Can't remember which one it was. Is that one? Might have been that one. But you can actually see the threads, more threads of the rocker through it. So I don't know if the stud's pulling through, but we'll worry about that later. Actually, I think it was this one over here. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. It ran good before we did anything to it. So how bad could it be? But different intake, gonna put a different carb on it. Should run a lot better. It's about time to put the clutch back on this thing. However, I don't have a clutch alignment tool. So what we're gonna do, because we got the clutch right here, the only other thing I have that has a clutch alignment tool built into it is this other SM465 I got with the transfer case, or I'm sorry, the PTO on it and everything. So that's gonna be fun. Try to line it up with that. But I don't feel like trying to find one like locally, you know, they might find a kit somewhere, but I don't know. But I'm not in town and it's a 20-minute drive and I don't feel like driving it when I got that. So we're gonna try that instead. So let's do that. Looks like it should work pretty well. So it's just a little bit above it. So I'm gonna lift it up, get the tire out of the way. I should be able to slide it right in there and we'll go from there. Just wanna make sure that the pilot bearing isn't completely worn out to where I need to replace it. If I do need to replace it, O'Reilly's has it in stock, so shouldn't be a big deal, but I'm just trying to avoid going to town right now. All right, let's get it raised up to where it's more level. Pilot bearing isn't too worn out. Then we'll set the clutch up in there. And yes, I like to do things a difficult way, or in most cases, the cheap way. And I'm gonna tilt this up a little bit. Well, that might be too much. By the way, these transmissions are ungodly heavy. Yeah, actually, it's perfect right there. So I'm gonna go about 4 inches to where I need like another set of eyes. Ooh, that pilot bearing is completely worn out. Alrighty then, we're going to town. We need a pilot bushing. I ain't gonna run it like that. That's way too sloppy. I mean, it's like at least a 1/4 inch too big right now. Yeah. 1/4 to 1/8 inch, like 1/8 inch to a 1/4 inch too big. So, need to run to town and get one. So hold please, and we'll be back. All right, since we know the pilot bushing's bad, we'll go ahead and pull it out before we run to O'Reilly's. Maybe while I'm there, I'll see if they have the alignment tool. But we're gonna pull it out. And I'm using the proper tool for this, which is, you know, an actual pilot bearing removal tool or a bearing removal tool. And the reason why I use this is because, yes, the bread trick and the grease trick work. Absolutely. I will not deny that. But problem is, you try using that on an LS1 or any LS engine, those cranks have an oil galley plug in the end of them. And guess what happens if you put pressure on that thing? That thing pops in, you gotta replace the oil galley plug on the crank. So, yeah, I'd rather just take my chances, use this little thing, which is designed for it. And this tool isn't that expensive. I mean, I've had it for probably 20 plus years now, but I can't imagine it's going to be much more expensive than what it was then. Maybe a little bit just because of, well, you know, inflation and everything, but real quick slide hammer action here. Oops. Helps to get it all the way in there, right? Wow. Let's see what the problem is. It's worn down to the point where there's a lip. It needs to get a lot further in there. Get this all the way out. There it goes. Need to get past the worn down portion of it. I'll show you when I pull it out. just how worn down this pilot bearing is, pilot bushing. I prefer bushings over the bearings because I've had needle bearings explode and take out a clutch, so I'd much rather trust a bushing over a bearing. So the thing spreads out all the way. There you go. One pilot bushing removed. So as far as affordability for this tool, I'm pretty sure most places will rent it for you, so you can take it back. I think that's the way I ended up getting that one, is I rented it. I don't think I've ever actually taken it out. I've taken one or two back. But there's the bushing. You can see there's a lip back here that it was, well, actually it's ground down now from me squishing it. But if you look here, yeah, that's not gonna work. In case that didn't show up, because I was shaking it around. It's supposed to slip on there tight. Well, semi-tight. So we gotta replace that. All right, got a new pilot bushing. If you look at the, see how it has a nice chamfer on this side of it? And then it's kind of flat on that side, on the inside. That chamfer goes to the outside, so the input shaft can go slide in a lot easier. So the more of a chamfer goes out. And let's make sure it fits. Oh yeah, see that's the way it's supposed to slide on. No movement whatsoever. Now I gotta press that into here. Well, tap it into there. I'm gonna clean that out real quick first. Then we'll tap it in. All right, so I'm gonna use my bearing seal driver, just like we did on the, what did we use it for before? Something. What the heck did we do that we use this on? Have it out for a reason. Why is it out? Oh, duh, we use it on the freaking freeze plugs. So it fits in there perfectly, and actually the bolt helps center it, so just get it in there, get it started. I don't know if it's going to bottom out first on the inside, or if this is going to bottom out, or if it's going to still be a lip. There was a little bit of a lip there on the one we took out, so just go in until you hear the tone change, and you're good. So I did check on getting a install tool for the clutch, and the only one they have that you have to order is over $100, and you get one, a plastic one with clutch install or a clutch kit, but I don't need a clutch right now. I just need to get this thing back together so we can get it back in the truck, hopefully tomorrow morning. We're gonna grab the clutch, get this tire out of the way again. Then we're gonna use this to align the clutch. It'll just roll. The angles seem to be pretty good, so hopefully we can utilize that and use it to align the clutch. So that slides in there, so now we just gotta put the clutch on there. Got the bolts right there. Am I still recording? Yes. So we got to put the bolts on there. Let me clean them up real quick. And we'll come back and we'll get that thing on there. All right, we're gonna try this in the most unorthodox way of doing this. I'm sure somebody else out there has done this at some point. But, you know, okay, the bolts are right there. Pressure plate, I kind of blew it out, cleaned it up a little bit. It was full of a bunch of trash and whatnot. Put that on there. Now on your clutch disc, the raised side always goes into the clutch pressure plate. So just remember that. Let me just hit this with the air nozzle real quick. So remember, raised side goes towards the pressure plate. All right, so we're gonna slide this up into the pilot bushing. Like so. Now you can push the pressure plate up on. Get some bolts started. It's hard to see the two bottom ones. Trying to block you guys' view here. Get a big good shot of my head, or what's happening? These are 3/8 bolts, so it's a 9/16 heavy bolt. Should put it in gear, but I forgot to. I should have put it in gear. Let me get a shifter. All right, so why am I putting it in gear? So I can rotate it to make sure it's spinning freely in there. Second will be fine. Got too tight right now. There it goes. It spins nice and free, so you want to do gradual. You want to tighten it gradually. So go over here, cross pattern, just work your way down. All right, now we need a torque wrench. And these are 35 foot-pounds with the 3/8 bolts. If you pass up your torque setting, make sure you'll go all the way back. There is 35. Lock them in. 35. Like I said, do a cross pattern, same way you would a wheel. There you go. Now let's see how easily it pulls out. That'll tell us whether or not it's aligned. That's how I always test it. Slide the tool in and out just to see. So if it comes out easy, then we did something right. Ah. Yeah, that went, see? Just had to get the right angle. So now we should be good to install this in the morning. All right, we got the engine almost ready to go in. I'll went ahead and stabbed the point style distributor on there. Clutch is on there now. Probably gonna take the spark plugs. I got a brand new set of spark plugs for it. It was actually for the other motor that was for the 77. But since we're not using that for a little bit, we might as well put the good parts on here. Once I moved everything forward to 5 inches, then I'll go back to an HEI, but that gives me enough room to where it's not gonna be slammed against the firewall. New balancers on there. I'm gonna make a new fuel line too, just because that one's all squishy, and they had a compression fitting on there at one point. That came out of the 77 as well, because it was a propane injected. So they had a bunch of things different on it. What else have I been doing? Oh yeah, I'll show you. As far as the actual truck that goes, this side of it, I cleaned that, so that's pretty much spotless now. The reason why it looks a little dirty is because I sprayed it with WD-40 because it like instantly flash rusted. This was all completely caked with mud on both sides. So was the cross member, and the inside of the transmission was still completely caked full. In order to do the conversion, the actual proper conversion, main thing I need to do is get the drive shaft lengthened 5 inches or 4 inches, whatever. I got to figure that out still. But if you look right there in the middle of the screen, see those two holes? Well, the top hole, you got to move the entire K member or cross member to those holes, and it'll line up that rivet there and the rear rivet. The rear rivet will move to where that rivet's at, and that rivet moves to that front hole. And that'll put it where it's supposed to be at for a V8. And I'll probably end up making the motor mounts for it because the mailman's here, the dog's gonna go after him. Okay, so before I was so rudely interrupted by my dogs chasing the mailman, yeah, I know, what's that called, cliche, but anyways, so like I said, I'm probably gonna make the motor mounts because the cheapest I've found a set of those things is like $100, and I can make it out of $20 a sheet of metal. So I'm not gonna order those freaking motor mounts, but I can make actually more stout ones for a lot less money. So what else? Oh yeah, I kind of fixed the pedal. This was broken and flopping around, but now it's you know, can move the way it's supposed to. Let me get you up there so you actually see what I'm doing. So this doesn't have any, it's not sticky, it's a little bit sticky, but I think the throttle spring will be fine to get that going. Wiring. So I got the starter wire rewired because it was all tore up in like 4 different pieces. It looked a lot like this does. You know, like multiple pieces strewn together. I got wires ready to go on for the rest of these as well. That's your ignition wire. And eventually, when we go back to the HEI distributor, that resistor wire is going to go away, and I will put, because the resistor wire only goes from this point to the firewall to there. So what you do is you basically just replace that wire and run a standard wire, not a resistor wire, because the HEI needs full 12 volts. Well, this point system and coil needs it reduced to like 6 or 9 volts. I think it might be 9 volts. Okay, so there's that. So we have, I kind of freed up the throwout bearing because it was a little sticky, but it still spins nicely. So, and it's a little different than the ones you buy that, you know, are listed as the replacements. Let's see what else. I guess pretty much it for now. So yeah, got the engine ready to go in and pedal fixed, working on the wiring. And like I said, we got to move that K member forward, where we got to wait till I can have the drive shaft made. I don't know how much it's going to cost me yet. So until I know how much that is, it's staying where it's at. And then I can get a more accurate measurement too once everything's back in here. It won't take much to move it forward. I've got a set of, well, they're on the truck, but on the 2500, I have a set of V8 mounts that I can use to, you know, make a set off of. So shouldn't be too hard. I get it. No, we'll worry about that. We'll get into that later. I'd really love to put a different starter on it too, but maybe it will. Maybe a regular starter will work with being a V8. I'll have to check and see if it'll fit. It should. I think the flywheels are the same. But anyways, I'm rambling now, so that's what we're doing. Hopefully we can get the engine stabbed back in here today. And but I wanted to get the wiring and the pedal fixed, everything working the way it's supposed to first before I worry about that. Get this thing plugged back in here, and it looks like a nest behind her. But anyways, like I said, I get to rambling sometimes, and if you don't mind that, let me know. But sometimes I just do. All right, so I got all the wires replaced. This yellow wire, it goes to the starter, so when you start it, it gives full voltage to the coil, so it makes it easier to start. And I got that going down to the starter with the purple wire. And then this here is your coolant temp sensor wire, so don't even know if it works, but figure I might as well plug it in because there's one there in the side of the engine, in the head of the engine. So we'll try it and see if it works or not. The rest of the wiring and, you know, the lighting and stuff, that's going to come later. Not really worried about that. I just need to make it run. Alternator, got to worry about that at some point too. But for now, I got to worry about how I'm going to mount the alternator, and I'll show you that in here in a minute. All right, so this here's the mounting bracket for the alternator. And on the old intake, there's a mount for it right there. However, on this aluminum intake that I ain't sure exactly what it's for, but it's a nettle broken. It's supposed to go right there, and there's no mount for it. So either I figure out a way of coming off one of the bolts to do it, or off the, I don't know, thermostat. I still got to get a helicoil on these because those are all stripped out. But yeah, it's still going to be better than the 2-barrel piece of crap that, you know, with all the extra smog stuff on it, and a carburetor that's all tweaked and bent and whatnot from getting it unstuck, if you remember from the first video. So yeah, that's what we're doing. All right, I got the thermostat housing bolts helicoiled now. So I just got to find the right length bolts now. I'm going to have to cut some down or, you know, because it didn't have the little pin popper on the kit that I got. So, but yep, this thing's pretty much ready to go back in. I'm trying to think of anything I might have forgot. Got the wiring done pretty much on the truck. I got to put the fitting back in for that. I want to do that before we go put it back in because I don't know how much room's going to be back there. A lot more room with the smaller distributor for sure, but you just never know. That port's closed. Oh, you know what? We're going to figure out a mounting system. There's a bolt hole right here that I could probably utilize and build a bracket that goes over and across to hold up the alternator bracket. So I think we'll do that. I'm gonna put the water pump on just to mock it up. I'm not gonna put the water pump on yet because I don't know if I'm gonna get a new one. Use the one off of that motor over there out of the 77. Because this one here, I'm not gonna risk using because it just sounds like absolute crap. You can hear it. It's pretty bad. So, and like I said, all that rust right there came out of it, and it's not sealed up anymore either. So that's getting replaced one way or another. But I can use the one off the 70 because it was working. Or I'm sorry, the 77, the 1-ton flatbed. But I'm just going to use it to mock it up. I got a new hard line to make a new fuel line for that because it's kinked down here and tweaked and bent and just it looks all awful. So I want to replace that. This has got a freaking crush fit, or a compression fitting on the front top of it. So I want to change all that out and make it all the way it should be. So that's what we're doing. All right, so I think it probably would have been fine without it, but I went ahead and made this bracket right here just so it has something up here. This is mounted here, down here to the bottom side of it. So once it's tightened down, you know, that bolt right there is pretty good just by itself. And a lot of these just have a bracket, a little swing arm thing that goes here. So I'm happy with that. I think that'll work. So, yep, we got that part taken care of. Now we just have to make the fuel line. This thing's pretty much ready to go in. All right, there's my new fuel line with no kinks in it this time. Loops right up to there, and it fits that Holley carburetor perfectly. It's about a 3-inch piece of hose. Well, the whole plan today was to get this engine back there, put back into the blue C10 using the 1-ton pole truck. Problem is, it rained, and when it rains here, these yards get really, really soft. So I don't want to take the chance of, well, for one, tearing up my yard, and two, getting the truck stuck. It's 4-wheel drive, but I don't know how well the 4-wheel drive works because, you know, I built it, so who knows how well it's going to actually work. But so I'm going to go ahead and pull this out, get into the front onto the gravel, and we're going to do it out here because that way we're still doing kind of the shade tree thing. I could bring it into the shop, but if I don't get it finished, these trucks and cars need to stay in the shop. I mean, my wife's car can stay out, but, you know, it's supposed to storm again tonight. This isn't weatherproof yet. That's not weatherproof yet. The Firebird's not weatherproof yet. So, yeah, I build them and then never weatherproof them. So it's like just one of those things. But we're going to pull this out, rig it up the winch, get the blue truck pulled out, and probably set up over here some, like maybe in this area somewhere. I don't know. We'll figure it out and get that engine installed today. So I actually think we get the truck to right here will be fine. So we just got to move it from there to here. And then we'll use the pull truck to put the engine in. And why am I doing it that way? Is it just pulling it in here? Because I'll probably get plenty of time to get it stabbed in. But what fun is that? Let's make it as fun as possible by using the equipment we have. All right, we got her all rigged up. Got the winch ready to go. First thing first, engage it. We got one, what are those things called? But anyways, tied into the frame over there. So I'm just gonna bring her as close as I can, then move the truck forward, and hopefully get it out of there. pull forward now. I gotta kind of watch the spool because I'm not sure how long this thing goes. I think it's got 50 feet on it, so it should be plenty. All right, we're gonna stop right there and bring her around. Move forward a little bit more. You gotta work the e-brake on this thing. Or parking brake, whatever you want to call it. Strap stuck, no big deal. Yeah, I love this truck. There we have it. Put the 1 ton to use, and it's not done yet because we're gonna be using that pole attachment to install the engine now. So that was pretty uneventful. It actually worked really well. And I also remember there's a few things I need to fix, like there's some broken off bolts where the starter bolt's in there, but I think I'm going to try using a small block Chevy starter instead of the original one that came to this. If it fits, then cool. It'll work with the motor and the flywheel. Just want to make sure it clears all this over here. Stupid bugs. Bugs are bad today. And so we got to set up the pole on that. And what else? Set up the, oh yeah, some of the exhaust manifold flange bolts, studs broke. So I got to do something about those as well. I don't have to take anything off, but we got that one. We got that one that broke off. That one's pretty much broken, but yeah. I mean, the stuff I could do on the truck. Those are all good. So we got 2 to fix on. Well, 1 to fix on this side, and then there's 2 bolts in the bell housing that need to be extracted as well. I'm gonna go take a break. I'll probably end up changing because it's starting to get warm. You know, we go from 50s, 60s to 80s, 90s real quick around here, but the truck looks good. Right, so I got some cleanup to do as far as the motor mounts go. I gotta get those bolts fixed on that and the bell housing. So I'm gonna work at that for a little bit. I gotta figure out all the other stuff that was jerry rigged on this thing, like the clutch, the Z-bar attachment here. Because like I said, the engine is still 5 inches back too far, and that needs some repair on that because it's loose. But yeah, there's just a bunch of little things I'm gonna do before we get this thing to go and drop it in. But mainly, once we get the bolt fixed on the exhaust manifold and the bolts out on the transmission bell housing, then we can drop the motor in and be done with that. And then we can do the rest of the stuff, whatever. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go work on that and try to get those out first. Well, those came out really easy. Started using the extractor tool, and it's got the reverse drill bit on it. Didn't get to the extractor part. The reverse drill bit caught it and spun them out. So those are both out now. So I probably don't mind using the that original starter now, because I can put all 3 bolts in. Pretty cool. Well, that's unfortunate. Trying to get this broken bolt out. And I broke the exhaust manifold. And the bad thing about that is, because of the design of the truck, you have to have these over the top kind of style manifolds. But I think I can just make it, if I clean out the rest of that hole, I can just use a bolt and a nut, hopefully in a washer or something, to hold it together. I think it'll be good enough at least, I hope. Yeah, we'll try it. Well, that's unfortunate. I had 2 bolts that were stuck and then they broke off. Then that was stuck on there, and as you can see, that didn't survive too well. Now I got a broken bolt off in the head now still. Because these were studs, and I tried to get it out and it started to move and then it broke. So now I got one to extract on that, on the head now. Try to do something nice for people. In this case, Chevy 350 from a 1975 van or bus. But anyways, yeah, so more stuff and more delays in getting this thing back in the truck. Due to a series of unfortunate events here, we're gonna have to put this on hold. So what we're gonna do, since I've got about 3 months of wait time to get the title, that's just the way it works in Oklahoma. It's not a bad process. It's just a lengthy one, I guess. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and move this engine and stuff forward to where it's supposed to be for a V8. That way I can get a set of headers instead of trying to find a stock set of exhaust manifolds. So we're going to have to move that crossmember forward, have the drive shaft lengthened about 5 inches. We'll get the actual measurement when we actually get to that point. And then make some V8 motor mounts, or find some. If I can find some locally, that'd be cool, but not likely because, this is a action line truck that's not as easy to find parts for. At least not just like, simple on off-the-shelf stuff. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and start the next process of getting the engine moved forward. That way we can put the HEI back in it, or an HEI back in it. The one we have is broken, or at least the rotor is, so we have to replace that. But we can do some more stuff to the engine, get it more stout and more ready for driving. So hopefully by the time we get all that done, the title will be in, we can get registered, we can start driving the thing the way I want to, just the way it is. I don't want to do any aesthetic work on it yet. I'm just going to kind of like drive it the way it is with the holes in it, because I kind of think it's cool. But anyways, if you like this video, leave a like down there, leave me a comment, let me know what I can do better. Turn on your notifications, do all that good stuff, subscribe, you know what to do, tell your friends. And for everybody who's been here until the very end, I really appreciate it. And until next time, I'll see y'all later.